So good morning. Welcome to Not Your Daughter's Yoga on, oh my gosh, what day is it? It's the 19th of October. Wow, time flies. So welcome to our class. As we do most classes, we're going to start out on our back on the mat. So you can go ahead, make your way to your mat now and lower yourself gently down onto your back. You may choose to stretch out and take up lots of space, as much space as you want, or you may choose a more restorative position, in which case you can plant both feet on the floor, knees bent a little wider than hip width apart. Allow the knees to relax in towards each other so they completely support each other, and then you're set. No matter which you choose, just ever so gently lift your hips about an inch off the mat and then settle them back down so that you have lots of room for your lower back and you're feeling nice and comfortable. And then once you've found a comfortable supine position that works for you, I invite you to take 3 gigantic resetting breaths, kind of like the computer reboot. This is a little bit of a reboot. So take 3 big breaths. So inhale through the nose. Visualize your lungs filling up as full as they can possibly get. Take in a little bit more and then hold it for just a moment and sigh it out. Nice and big, sigh it out as loud as you want. Again, big resetting breath. Inhale through the nose. Holding that air in for just a moment. Exhale, letting it go. As you exhale, imagine that all effort, all tension, just everything you've been holding on to in your day so far is just being let out. One more time, one more big breath. Hold it all the way at the top. Exhale, letting everything out, feeling your body soften in response. And then you can just take nice deep breaths through your nose, inhaling and gently exhaling. See if you can make those breaths equidistant, more or less equal. So inhaling, 2, 3, 4, hold for a moment, exhale, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4, exhale, 2, 3, 4. Find a rhythm that works for you. Could be a little faster or slower than the one I've suggested, but just find something steady and sustainable. And just keep your mind focused on that breath for a few more rounds of breath. It usually takes, I don't know, for me, maybe 6, 8 rounds of breath for it. There's just like a switch upstairs in my head. And once I do that 6 or 8 times, it's like the switch is flipped and it becomes very automatic. So keep generating that nice, smooth breath, not focusing on anything else right now, just breathing. Taking that breath smooth and even, a few more rounds. Two more breaths. Okay, and now that you've got your breath underway, you can turn your mind to where you are in space and time. Notice that you are on your mat. You've made time to be on your mat. You've made space. This is your time and yours alone to do things for yourself, to engage in self-care. And everything else in your life right now can wait. It can all wait until you have taken care of yourself. So to-do lists, errands, meetings, all of it, it'll be there when you're ready. All right, now your sole focus is on you. So keeping that breath moving. Nice and smooth. And then I'll invite you to begin to take a little bit of movement with the body and just notice how your body is feeling this morning as you do that. Maybe you want to wiggle the fingers and toes a little bit. You can point and flex the feet a couple of times. And at the same time, you can ball up your hands into fists and then release. Maybe you'd like to take a big stretch. And while you're doing that, just noticing areas where you're feeling really good and energized, relaxed, and other areas where you might be holding on to a little bit of tension, perhaps a little bit of soreness. No big deal though. Not judging, just noticing. And then we're going to start our practice today remaining on our back on the mat. So you're laying down still. If your feet are planted, bring them up toward your chest. If you're stretched out, draw your knees up toward your chest, gently hugging the right knee toward the right armpit, left knee toward the left armpit, giving yourself a nice hug. You could even rock a little bit on your spine here. Nice hug in, and then we're gonna activate that hug even a little bit more. So I want you to hug your head up in the direction of your knees. You're getting into a tiny little ball here. If you want, you could even take your hands around the outsides of your feet like stirrups. So hug yourself into a tiny little ball. Good. And now we're going to go the opposite direction. And I want you to stretch out as long as you can on your mat. Really nice and long. Stretch, 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 stretch. Oh, good. And we're going to stay on our back. I'd like you to plant your right foot on the mat. Hug the left knee in. Just again, hugging it in gently toward the armpit. You can point and flex the left foot a couple of times. Take some little circles with the ankle. Maybe reverse the circles. And then we'll take the left knee out to the side. Depending on your range of motion, this could be a very slight out to the side, or maybe you have a bit more motion, and just hanging it out there for a second. And then we'll hug the knee back in. I want you to take a hold of your left thigh, behind the left thigh, so you can intertwine your fingers. And I want you to kick your left foot up toward the ceiling. And you might start to feel a little bit of hamstring activation here. I know I feel this right through my feet. I tend to have a little bit of nerve myopathy, and I feel this in my feet. And then you can just gently point and flex that foot a few times. Good. And then you can hug that knee back in, give it a little squeeze, and then we'll switch. So plant the left foot on the mat, hug the right knee in toward the armpit, and you can take circles with that ankle. And then reverse the motion. Good. And again, hang the right knee out to the side. So this could be a very slight opening, or maybe you're able to open that hip quite a ways. So opening the hip and just hanging out there. You can continue to point and flex your foot if you like. And then draw that right knee back in. We're going to take a hold behind the right thigh and then push the right heel straight up toward the ceiling. Your leg does not have to be anywhere near straight, just as long as you're actively pushing that heel upward and then pointing and flexing the foot. Point and flex. Lovely. Good, 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 good. Point and flex, point and flex. And you can hug that knee back in for a moment, and then we'll plant the foot down. Gently roll yourself over onto your right side. Just pause there for a moment before you come up to a seated position. So gently bringing yourself up onto your mat and then finding your seat in a way that works for you. So your legs may be stretched out in front of you, or you may prefer a cross-legged position, whichever works for you. We're going to sit up nice and straight. So make sure that your sits bones are in contact with the mat. You can just scoop out the bum a little bit. Make sure that the tops of your femurs are plugged down into the mat, sitting nice and tall, imagining that invisible thread that pulls us straight up. And then take a nice big inhale, exhale, drop the chin down to the chest. Inhale, coming up through center, and then gazing up, noticing and respecting the range of motion of your neck. Exhale, coming back through center and down. Inhale, looking up again. Exhale, coming through center and down. One more time. Inhale, looking up. Exhale, coming down, bringing the chin down again, and then taking some nice slow circles with the head and neck. Hanging out anywhere where you feel like you could use a little extra attention and being oh so gentle. And then you can reverse the motion, being just as gentle, going the opposite way. Good. And head comes straight up. We'll just do a little bit of a neck stretch here. So I'll mirror you. You can take your left hand up and over your head, bring that hand on to your right ear. And then you can gently allow the weight of your hand to bring your head over to the side. And so you're getting really long through the right side of your neck. You're not pulling your head. You're just allowing the weight to provide some traction there. Breathing into it. And release. And then bringing the other hand up and over. The right hand this time. Pulling, not pulling, sorry, wrong word choice. Encouraging the left side of the neck long, just using the weight of the hand. One more breath. And you can release that. Bring your arms out into a T. We'll bring the left arm underneath the right. You continue wrapping for eagle arms, or you can bring hands onto shoulders, either one. Push the elbows up, really round your upper spine and duck your head forward and down, stretching out. Good morning, Cheryl. And you can release, opening the arms. This time we will bring right arm underneath left. Again, you can eagle wrap or hands to shoulders, pushing the elbows up, duck the head forward down, and really feel like you're breathing into the space between your shoulder blades. Good. Arms out wide, and let's just do some nice big circles. Nice and slow. Noticing how that feels in the shoulders. If there's a shoulder that's maybe giving you a bit of grief, maybe make those circles a little bit smaller, but definitely make them slow. And at the top of your next cycle, hang for a moment and then reverse the motion. Again, big and slow. And then at the top, you can pause. We'll bring the left hand down to the mat, walk it out to the side, stretching the right arm up and over, coming into a nice side stretch. Really actively think about pressing the femur, your sits bones, right into the mat here, so that your hip is going in the opposite direction of the stretch. So that makes it even stretchier. And you can gently walk that hand back in, switch it up, bring the right hand down, left arm up and over. Again, think about sending the hip down into the mat and the arm up and over, relaxing the head and neck. One more breath. And coming upright, you can extend your legs out in front of you. We're going to plant the left foot, have about a fist width of distance between your free leg and your planted foot. Make sure that you roll that right leg up so it's completely straight and actively peel the toes back toward you. Sitting up nice and tall, you can take your right hand to the outside of the left knee, left hand behind you like an extension of your spine. Inhale to get tall. Exhale and twisting to the left. Relax the head and neck. If you want to deepen the twist, you could take the outside of the right elbow to the outside of the knee. Just an option. Try it out or don't. Totally up to you. See if you can just let yourself melt into the twist. One last breath. And unwinding, we'll set up for the other way. So left leg extends long, right foot plants. A little bit of space between the foot and the leg. Make sure that that left leg isn't hanging out to the side. So roll it up and in, active toes. Bring the left hand to the outside of the right knee. Right hand behind. And again, sitting up tall, twisting toward the right. And again, you could explore bringing the outside of the elbow to the outside of the knee. Just an option. One more breath and release. And we'll just stretch both legs out in front of us, zip them together, sitting up nice and tall. Hands can begin at your side. Actively peel your toes back toward you, gently walking it forward, coming into a gentle forward fold. You can let your upper body totally relax once you've come forward. So try not to curl down into yourself, but be straight until you've come forward where you feel engagement, and then let the head and neck relax. Keep the toes really active. If you want to reach for your toes, that's great. Not a requirement, but you can definitely try it out. Nice big breaths. Imagining we can send the breath all the way down the legs. And release. We'll rock back onto the tailbone. You can start with knees bent, feet planted. Your choice. You may wish to bring the hands to the side for support. Lift the shins, coming into boat. If you want to try your balance, bring your arms actively out in front of you, coming into boat. Nice core engagement here. Chest is broad, and imagining yourself sort of pulling up and forward. So really active here. You could point or flex the feet. Either one is fine. Holding for one more breath. And then you can come forward again. Bring the legs around. Coming into cat and cow. So hands are planted generally under the shoulders. If shoulders are bothering you, set your hands about 6 inches further forward. Knees are underneath your hips. Feet are flat against the mat. So we'll start with our cat and cow. So starting from a neutral spine, drop the belly, raise the hips. With the head, look forward and maybe up, depending on your range of motion. Exhale, reverse the motion, push up between the shoulder blades. It's a good time of year to imitate a Halloween cat. Inhale, drop the belly, forward, maybe up. Exhale, reverse the motion, coming back to cat. Inhaling to cow. Exhaling to cat. 3 more rounds, your style, your rhythm. So you could add in some lateral movement, hip movement, maybe looking over the shoulder, whatever you like. Or just keep moving straight through. Nice and slow. And when you come to the end of your 3rd round of cat and cow, we'll just all meet up in a neutral spine. Turn the toes under. We're going to walk the hands forward. And this time we're going to walk them a little further forward than we normally would. So really walk the hands forward and see if you can open your chest toward the ground. Big heart opener here. If you're really having some upper spine mobility, you might even be able to get your chest down. Not necessarily though. And then we're going to come up and walk the hands back in a little bit. So probably about a foot back until you come into the modification for downward facing dog. So opening the heart toward the ground, but not as much as we just did. Keeping the toes curled under. If you'd like to take the full version, you can push your hips up and back now, coming onto the feet. Whichever version you choose, make sure that your hands are really active. And you're pushing down with the base of each finger into the mat, opening the heart and breathing. Big breath here. If you're on your feet, you can pedal out the legs as you get your breath moving. And then we're all going to make our way onto our feet at the top of the mat and roll all the way up to stand. Good stuff. So feet are narrow hip width apart, standing nice and tall. Shoulders are broad and down away from the ears. With your eyes closed, well, actually, you can just soften your gaze. If you want to challenge yourself, close your eyes. And I want you to rock your weight forward so you feel your weight going over your toes. And you start to feel like you're approaching that edge where if you put your weight much further forward, you do a face plant, but don't go that far. And then I want you to move your weight through center and send it back into the heels. And again, just approaching that edge where you start to feel like, hey, I don't want to fall backwards. And then I want you to bring the balance right back to that sweet spot in the middle, just finding where the best point of balance is. Good. So inhale, arms up overhead, palms touch. You may wish to look up. Exhale, forward fold all the way down. Gentle bend in the knees. We'll bring the hands to the shins. Inhale, come halfway up. Exhale, fold. We're going to do 2 more of that. So inhale, coming halfway up. Exhale, fold. 1 more time. Inhale, coming halfway up. Exhale, fold. This time we're going to hang out in ragdoll for a second. So you can let your arms hang loose or cradle one in the other. And then you are a ragdoll and there's a gentle breeze. So that gentle breeze is just going to move you around a little bit. Again, feeling a little hamstring activation here. Nice deep breath. Gentle swaying. And then if you have a hold of your arms, you can release and slowly crawl all the way back up to stand again. So coming to our starting position. Inhale, arms overhead, palms touch. Exhale, forward fold all the way down. Hands come to shins. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, forward fold, big bend in the knees. Plant your hands on the mat. Step your feet all the way to the back of the mat and then lower onto your knees, untucking the toes. Before you go anywhere, make sure that you have a nice long line from your shoulders all the way back to your knees. So if you find that your bum's up a little, tuck that bum down. Inhaling to prepare. On your exhale, squeeze your elbows in and see if you can come down one segment at a time. So thighs coming down, pelvis, belly, chest, and finally your forehead comes down to the mat. Fingertips can stay under the shoulders. Inhale, your head up, coming into cobra. No pressure in the hands though. Hands are low. Exhale, forehead comes back to the mat. 2 more. So inhale your head up, looking forward, lifting right from the lower back. Exhale, forward fold. 1 more time. Inhale that head up. This time you can levitate the hands right up off the mat, lifting from the lower back. Beautiful. Forehead comes down. We're going to do a little bit more work there. So bring your hands back by your hips with the backs of your hands on the mat and your palms are up. I want you to zip your legs together so toes are touching. Inhale, head, neck, and chest rise up. Exhale, lifting everything else from that same space, from the lower back. So coming up like your Superman, flying through the air. Big breaths here. 1 more breath. And exhale, you can bring your forehead down. Bring your hands under your face and then rest your forehead on your hands. Bend your knees and then gently windshield wiper your lower legs back and forth. Releasing that work in the lower back. And we're going to go for a second round. So again, legs down, make sure your toes are touching. Hands can come back by your hips again. So forehead on the mat. Inhale, head comes up. Exhale, everything else rises up, flying through the air. Strong lower back, lifting here. Big breaths. 1 more breath. And head comes down. Your hands can come under the forehead again. Bend at the knees. Windshield wiper the legs. Nice release here. And then extend the legs long. You can bring your elbows under your shoulders and your forearms are coming straight forward, coming up into Sphinx. So just a nice back extension. Breathing into it. If you wanted to explore going a little deeper, you could push into your hands and straighten your arms. If that's a bit much for you, just come back down and maybe even lower forward a little bit. Just going to hang out for a couple of breaths here. One more big breath. And then we're going to turn our body over onto the right hip. And your elbow is going to be below your shoulder. And your right arm is crossed in front of you. So it's horizontal. So we're going to come into our side plank. So adjust your body so you're making a nice long straight line with your body. Your legs can be bent and behind you. Your left hand can come on to the left hip. Just make sure that your arm is moved in enough that the elbow is directly under the shoulder. Inhale, I want you to push those hips skyward. Exhale, bring the hip down and just hover it off the mat. So inhale, push up. Exhale, hover down. Inhale, pushing up. Exhale, hover. One more time. Inhale, pushing up. We're going to hold for a breath. If you want to challenge yourself, you can bring that free arm straight up overhead. Hold. And we will release down, coming on to the belly. And then we're going to move to the other side. So bring your left arm parallel in front of you, coming over onto the left hip, adjusting, making sure you have a nice long line of your body and making sure that the left elbow is below the left shoulder. Right hand can come onto the right hip. Inhale, push the hips skyward. Exhale, hover the hips down. Inhale, pushing up. Exhale, hover down. Inhale, push up. Exhale, down. One more time. Inhale, push up. If you wanted, you could raise that arm. Hold for a breath. And release. Beautiful. Roll back over onto your belly. Hands are underneath your shoulders. And then I want you to press up onto your knees. Just bring your hips back on your heels and coming to a child's pose. Just taking a couple of breaths here. And when you're feeling ready, you can either come through your kneeling downward facing dog or come on to your feet. So coming into your downward facing dog, taking a few deep breaths there. And when you're feeling ready, slowly making your way onto your feet at the top of the mat again. And coming up to stand. So we're going to start nice and tall as usual, feet narrow hip width apart. Oh, that was neat. There was a little glitch in the video and you all sped up, like super fast forward for a second. Interesting. So hands on the hips. We're going to step the left foot forward and you're going to step the right foot back and then put that foot on a diagonal. So we're not going warrior 2 here, we're going warrior 1. So your feet are on 2 separate tracks, not in line, and that right foot is on a diagonal angle. Make sure that your left ankle is well ahead of your left knee so that you have room to lunge. Your chest is facing straight forward, so there's a little bit of a twist in the spine here. And then we're going to lunge forward and inhale the arms up, looking forward and up, coming into warrior 1. Nice and big breaths, lunging really deeply here. One more big breath. And your hands can come back to your hips. And then you can gently work your feet inward and coming back to the top of your mat. And we're going to take it on the other side. So stepping the right foot forward, left foot is going to step quite a ways back and put that foot on a diagonal and also make sure that your feet are on 2 separate tracks. Good. Work the right ankle forward so that you have lots of room to lunge. And then sink into that leg. Arms come up, lunging forward, powerful warrior 1 here. Big breaths. One more breath. Hands come back to the hip and you can walk your legs in again. Good work. We're going to orient ourselves sideways on the mat, preparing for a wide-legged forward fold. If you know that you'd like a block to help you with that, just grab your block. You can grab some water too if you like. So standing sideways on the mat, hands can come to the hips and then gently walk the feet out. So walking out, finding a place where you feel like you're challenged in how far out your legs are, but you're also really steady. Once you're there, make sure that you push force through the outsides of your feet. So you're really gripping your mat. Powerful legs here. Hands can come to hips. Inhale, think about getting as tall as you can. Exhale, hand right at the hips and coming forward. Gentle bend in the knees, little micro bend and coming forward. So maybe your hands come down to the mat, or maybe they just come down onto the block. Coming into a nice wide-legged forward fold. Once you're down, make sure that your head and neck are quite relaxed. And big breaths here. We're going to bring our hands to our shins. On your next inhale, I want you to come halfway up to flat back. And then exhale, coming all the way down again. Hands can come back onto your block or on the mat. Maybe you come a little bit further forward into your fold this time. If you're really feeling like this is accessible, you could take a hold of the shins or ankles and gently encourage your chest underneath you, but just an option, not necessary. Couple more deep breaths. One more breath. And then slowly coming all the way upright again. And we're going to walk our feet in a bit. We're coming toward our goddess. So your legs are still spread quite wide, but a little bit further in than before. I want you to bring your heels in so that your feet are out on a 45-degree angle. So arms come out into a T, bend at the elbows, and palms face your head. Good. Inhale, think about getting tall. Exhale, we're going to sink down into our goddess. And we're just going to stay here for a couple of breaths. So big thigh workout here. It's going to build a little bit of fire. Inhale, breathe. Breathe, one more big breath. Good. And we're going to come back upward. This time I want you to bring your arms way overhead. And then exhale, coming down into your goddess. You can scoop your arms underneath you. Inhale, coming up. So doing kind of a grand plie here. Exhale, swooping down. Inhale, up. Exhale, swoop down. Inhale, rise. Exhale, sinking down. Two more times. Inhale, up. Exhale, sink. One more round. Inhale, up. Exhale, sink down. And then coming back upright. Hands can come back to your hips and you can walk your feet in. We're going to be doing our tree. So if you know that you'd like some support from a wall or some furniture, you can go ahead and head there now. And we'll set up with our feet narrow hip width apart, making sure that you're standing really nice and straight. So the abdomen's engaged, shoulders are down away from the ears. Hands can come to the hips. Before you think about going anywhere, make sure that your gaze is resting 2 or 3 meters ahead of you on a fixed point. So not an object that moves, not a cat or a dog. Good. Transfer your weight over onto your left foot. Inhale, free leg up. Exhale the knee out to the side and then plant that foot. Could be against the shin, ankle, toes down, whichever works for you. Really squeezing the bum nice and tight. Abdomen's engaged. Hands can come to heart center. Big breaths here. And maybe you'd like to explore growing your tree. Just make sure you keep your shoulders down away from the ears. Try not to hunch up. And if you shake or sway or fall, that's fine. Just get back in again. One last breath. Gently bring the hands to heart center for a breath. Down to the hips. Inhale that free leg forward. Challenge yourself to straighten it out and hold for a breath. And then on your exhale, slowly lower it down with control. Beautiful. Good. You can shake out that standing leg, get your circulation going, and we'll set up for the other side. So again, planting that gaze on a non-moving point. Transfer your weight to the standing leg. Inhale the free leg up. Exhale that knee to the side. Plant the free foot against the standing leg. Hands can come to heart center. Find your stability. Core is squeezed, bum is squeezed, everything's engaged. And then perhaps you explore growing your tree on this side. Again, making sure that the shoulders stay down away from the ears. And you stay soft and peaceful. One more slow breath. If your arms are up, bring them back through heart center for a breath. And down to the hips. So inhale the free knee forward. Exhale that leg. Hold it up for a breath. And then slowly lower it with control. Beautiful. And shake out the standing leg. And then we're going to get ready to come down into our squat. So if you want to start from seated, you can go ahead and make your way there now. If you'd like to come down onto a block, put that under your hips, totally up to you. Feet are wider than shoulder width apart. Toes are pointed out on a 45-degree angle. Standing up nice and tall. Hands can come to heart center. Inhale to prepare. And exhale ever so slowly. See how slowly you can do it. Slowly lowering down until you come to your resting point. If you're already down, great. Knees are wider than hips. Feet are pointed out on a 45-degree angle. And if you can, use the backs of your upper arms to just gently encourage the knees open. No matter which version you're in, make sure that you're not curling forward like this. So chest is broad and head is up. And then just breathe. Find that place where you can just allow yourself to rest. Stay with sensation, noticing it, but not reacting. Nice deep breaths. Two more breaths. Last one. And you can release. So if you're already down on your seat, great. If you're not there, bring yourself down now. We'll keep our legs out wide, but set the feet further forward. Again, a little bit of balancing here. So if you want, you can clasp one arm over the other, or hands can stay to the side, either way. So rolling up onto the right hip, coming through center, rolling up onto the left, just going back and forth slowly a few times. And coming back to center, we're going to come into a forward fold. So we'll bring our feet together and your knees can remain bent. Think about getting really tall and then start bringing your torso in the direction of your thighs. Once you're forward, then you can relax the head and neck. You could wrap the arms underneath the thighs if you wanted. And just allow yourself to rest into this very restorative forward fold. If you wanted to take a more active version, you can straighten your legs out. If you're happy here, then just stay right as you are. Couple more slow breaths in our forward fold. And bring yourself upright again. If you had your legs extended, bring the feet back to the mat. Your feet are still a fair ways out in front of you though, and then bring your knees out to the side. So you're making a large diamond shape with your legs. Imagine yourself being pulled upright by that invisible string again. So you're really tall, and then bring yourself forward. So sort of extending the chest forward and out, finding that place where you start to feel sensation in the hips. So you might not need to come very far forward at all. And then once you found your way forward, then you can relax the head and neck. And coming back upright. If you're sideways on your mat, bring yourself lengthwise on your mat. We'll plant the feet, bring your hands onto your shins, and we're just going to backtrack a little bit to cat and cow. So this is just a seated variation. So on your inhale, pull your belly and chest forward, maybe looking up. Exhale, allow your back to sink back and really round your spine while lowering your head. And this is where holding onto your knees really helps. So inhale, bring the chest forward, head looking slightly up. Exhale, hanging it back into cat. Inhale forward. Exhaling back. Inhale forward. And exhaling back. And then we're going to come upright. So sitting up nice and tall. We're going to lower onto the back so you can release your knees. And then with control, lower yourself back onto your back. So really trying to control the descent here until you come all the way back. And if you found a block under your head like I did, just set it off to the side. Good. So we're going to plant our feet just below our hips, a little bit of space between the knees here. Hands come down by the hips, palms are down. So we're getting ready for bridge. You'll want your block ready by your hips for restorative bridge. So we're going to inhale, push the hips toward the ceiling, doing an active version of bridge first. So really pressing the backs of the arms and the feet into the mat. Big breathing here. With each exhale, see if you can push those hips a little bit higher. One more breath. And hips sink all the way down to the floor. Gently windshield wiper the knees back and forth a couple of times. Release the lower back. Good. So this time we're going to set up for a restorative version of bridge. So having that block handy, hands, palms down into the mat. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, push the hips skyward. Hold for a breath. And now you can grab your block and bring it under sort of the top of your lower back here. So not the middle of your back and not your bum, in that sweet spot right in between, gently lowering down onto the block, sussing it out, making sure that's comfortable. If it's not, just lift and adjust a little bit, and then coming into our restorative bridge. So your hands can rest by your side. And you can stay exactly like this with the feet planted. If you really like back extensions and you really want to go for it, you could sneak your feet out and maybe even extend the legs long. Just an option, not mandatory, but any stretch of the imagination. One more big breath. And exhale. If your legs are stretched out, bring them back planted. You're going to stay for a couple breaths here. So if you were extended, you're just bringing your legs back in. If your legs are already in, just stay for a couple more breaths. Good. So on your next inhale, you're going to push into the feet, powerful. Take your block, remove it from under your hips, bring the hips down to the floor, and gently windshield wipering the legs back and forth. Good. We're going to set up for pigeon. So if you know that you'd like the assistance of a strap, grab your strap and bring it by your side now. So both feet are planted, knees are about hip width apart. Cross your right leg at the left with the right knee out to the side. The right foot is active, so you're making that nice figure four with your legs. Perhaps you're already starting to feel some hip opening here. In that case, you can just stay exactly as you are. You could use your hand to encourage the knee out to the side. And actually, you could even use the block so that you're not sort of stretching your arm out. You could actually use that block so that you can be very relaxed about it. So that's your first option. If you would like to hug the thigh in and bring your left thigh toward your chest, so you can use the strap if you like behind that left thigh and draw the left thigh toward your chest. Or if you can make room, you could interlace your fingers behind that left thigh and again, hugging it in, making sure the right toes stay very active and peeled back toward the right knee. This is going to protect this leg. So find your way into pigeon, the pigeon that works for you. And then your left foot and ankle, if you want to multitask, you could just do some circles with those, or you can just let it hang out. Let's keep that breath nice and big and flowing smoothly. Two more big breaths. Draw them out slow. If you have a hold of the left thigh with your hand or strap, release, lowering that left foot down, uncrossing the right leg, and then you can just gently windshield wiper, just release that right hip. And we'll set up for the other side. So this time crossing the left ankle just below the right knee, left knee out to the side. So again, your first stop could be just encouraging that left knee out to the side. If you'd like to make it even easier, use your block and then use the weight of your hand to encourage that knee out to the side. But do make sure that this left foot stays super flexed. If you want to go a little bit further, you could bring your strap around the back of the right thigh and hug the right thigh in. Or you could do the same thing using your hands. So intertwine the fingers, hugging the right thigh in, making sure that left foot stays super active. The lower right leg, it doesn't really have anything to do, but if you wanted to multitask, you could just do some circles with your ankle. Again, slowing the breath down, smoothing it out. Two more breaths. And on your exhale, lower that leg down if you had it hugged in. Uncross the leg, gently windshield wiper back and forth. And then you can stay with the knees up. We're going to take a slight variation on our spinal twist. You are welcome to take it, or you're very welcome to do our spinal twist the traditional way. But if you'd like to try a little bit of a restorative version, bring yourself up to sitting just briefly. So your feet are planted, your knees are bent. Hopefully you have your rolled blanket or a throw pillow with you. I want you to move that support on the left side, sort of up just beside your left shoulder. You're going to bring your right arm over, and I want you to twist your upper body so that you're facing that pillow right by your right shoulder. Both knees can come over to the right side, and you're just going to lower forward onto that pillow or rolled blanket. You could even use both if you want. And so you've got a twist in your spine here. You should be able to really relax onto that support. If you try this out and it's just not working for you, that's totally fine. Just come back onto your back and do the traditional spinal twist. But if this is working okay, so the goal is to have your chest on the pillow, rest your chin on the pillow or bolster. You could rest the side of your head. Couple more breaths. One more. And then gently roll out of that twist, coming back onto your back. We'll move your support over by your left shoulder this time. So I'm using a rolled blanket and a pillow. And then again, we're just going to bring ourselves up slightly. I got props here everywhere. Okay, so again, you're going to bring your left hand over. So both hands are over on your right side. Allow both knees to come over to the right. And then you're guiding your chest over that pillow. Draw it in if you need. Arms are on either side of the pillow or blanket, and just lowering your chest onto the support. So you could keep your chin on the support forward, or you could rest on the side of your head, whichever works for you. And again, if you come into this and it's just not happening for you today, then you're welcome to just come onto your back and do a more traditional spinal twist. Couple more nice slow breaths. And we're ready to come out of this final twist. So you can just roll back onto your back, place your props off to the side. You may want them again for Shavasana, so not too far away. And then coming back onto your back, hugging your knees up toward your armpits like we did at the beginning of class, hugging those shins in. And you could roll on your back a little bit right here. If you wanted to, you could reach your arms through the insides of the knees, take a hold of either the instep or the outside of the foot, draw the feet toward the ceiling, coming into stirrup or happy baby. Again, continuing to rock a little bit on the lower spine. And then if there are any last movements you'd like to take in your practice, you can go ahead and take those now. So maybe you'd like to extend legs. Maybe you'd even like to come up into a shoulder stand if that's part of your practice and something you feel comfortable with. Or maybe you just want to take a big stretch, whatever works for you. And then you can grab whatever it is you need to be comfortable in your Shavasana. So take some water, grab a sweater or a blanket. Perhaps you'd like some support under your knees. So you could use that pillow or rolled blanket and move that under your knees. And make your way onto your back, picking up the hips for just a second and settling them back down on the mat so that your lower back is feeling comfortable. If you'd like to hold in some of the heat and energy from your class, you could hold your hand, your right hand over your heart and your left hand resting on your belly. If you just want to let it go, your hands could rest down at your side. Make sure that your legs are completely relaxed. And then just as we did at the beginning of class, we'll take a few really nice big release breaths, resetting here. So again, inhale, big breath filling all the way to the top of the lungs, holding for a moment, and then exhale, sigh it out, big mouth. No one can see you or hear you, so really sigh it out. Again, inhale. Big breath, exhale and release. One more breath, inhale. Holding for a moment, exhale, release. Good, and then you can just let it all go. So let your practice breath go. Let your intention and your efforts from practice go. And remind yourself that this is still your time that you've dedicated to yourself. So everything else can wait. Allow yourself to feel the gentle pull of gravity pulling you into your mat, your warm, You're soft. Allowing yourself to fall into a state of relaxation so that you can absorb the benefits of your practice. Allow yourself to fully relax. If you find that your mind is wandering, just gently draw it back towards your breath. You can enjoy your rest and know that I'll be here to let you know when it's time to go. you can begin to bring your awareness back to where you are in space and time, back into your body. Just take a moment to scan your body again, noticing areas where you're feeling relaxed and loose, energetic and soft, and the other areas where you might still be feeling a little conservative, a little tightness, not judging, just noticing. And perhaps noticing that you feel softer and more relaxed than you did at the beginning of class. You can begin to invite in some gentle movement. Wiggle fingers and toes. Maybe do that little ground shimmy. And stretch out nice and long. And then roll over onto your right side and pause there for a few breaths. And then gently bring yourself up to sit. And when you come up to sit, make sure that you're nice and tall. Shoulders are broad, down away from your ears. You can bring your hands to heart center. Take an inhale and lower your chin. Yoga is not about being good at something. It's about being good to yourself. Thank you for joining me for class today. Namaste. Okay, we will see you next week.